A wee bit of work needing done today. We're actually going away for a few days, so it's going to be quite intense getting things done, but it's going to focus around that back bed and the apples, so I need to get set up. Just in case there are any of you guys who haven't been with us for the last, 2024, the apples used to sit in front of the greenhouse in those big green pots, and they did stupendously well. But as much as you can grow apples in pots, and as I said, they did really well for us, it's a lot more work because the apple trees are completely reliant on you for all of their watering, their feeding, everything like that when you grow in pots. So we decided to move them into this back bed in the hope that it would make our lives a little bit easier. So today though, there's a couple of things that we've kind of realised we're going to tweak. Just again, it's about making life easy. So it's this. Two things. Number one, although you can see these trees, the stems on them, or now a trunk, are much thicker than they were last year or even the year before, but it's still a long, tall if you like, straight trunk, and you can see it's moving and there's the tiniest breeze, but they're quite whippy still because they're still only maybe an inch, 2 inches thick at the most. So we're going to stake them because this is a wind tunnel and it's particularly windy here, so these actually move a lot in the wind. Now the thing is, right, generally speaking, trees in the wind is a good thing because it'll help the tree put out those roots and keep it nice and strong and stable. But it's actually the trunk that's quite whippy. So it's not that the tree's moving at the base, it's the trunk is actually quite flexible. And then when you add the weight of all those apples, when it's windy, it really moves. And we saw the same thing when they were in the pots and we had to put a real support system in place. So we're going to stake them, but we're going to secure them to the stakes relatively high up to stop that happening. So that's job number one. And job number two is quite simply, it's brilliant when it rains. These guys get watered brilliantly in Scotland, but there will be spells where it's really dry for a while and then it's still relying on me watering. And trees need quite deep watering. So given the success of the solar irrigation system I'm using in that pallet planter, I'm going to put the same one in here specifically for the apples. So I'm going to connect it to the water butt, and then that will do a whole drip watering and feeding system for these apple trees. Now obviously it's going to empty out that water barrel quite frequently, so I will have to keep filling that up, the same as I do with the blue barrel over there, but it will still be a lot easier and more reliable than me standing with the hose and watering these. So that's job number two for today. Obviously I'm going to need some stakes for the tree, and try not to trash the lights. And some stake ties. Next thing I need is these. These are ties, they're rubber, so they'll hold the tree and the stake not together, but it'll be what holds it all so that it's nice and strong. It's soft rubber, so it won't damage the tree, because you don't want something that's going to damage the actual trunk of the tree and the bark and stuff. So yeah, and I suppose the other thing I'm going to need is a great big hammer to get the stake in the ground. Now, the thing is, it would have been ideal if we had done this when we planted the trees. We did intend to and just never got round to it. And we thought, oh, they'll be fine because they're in the bed, they're at the back, it's a bit sheltered. We were wrong. So I'm going to do this now. Like I say, it's not ideal because there's the chance of disturbing the roots. I'm just going to have to be careful. Now, it would be extra fabulously ideal if I had someone to like hold the stake or, you know, swing the hammer. But unfortunately, Kate's busy and I'm on my own. So I've got the tree to think about. There's also lots of planting in here, so I'm just having a wee nosy. So I've got some delphiniums, I've got sunflower. So I just want to pick a good spot for multiple reasons. Obviously a good spot because I want as little of this going through the roots as possible, so I don't want it too close to the tree. I also don't want it to trash any of the planting. Now, just keep an eye on where all the branches and the foliage is. That might be a good spot. It's going to be fun. I'm 5 foot tall. Try to do this with all sorts of plant life, going to places it shouldn't be. Now I've deliberately chosen where it is based on the branches at the back here because I don't want that bumping existing branches and apple spurs and potentially knocking fruit off. But once I'm happy, I just need to tie it in. I've got a few of these because I don't know how many I'll need. This could be a bit more difficult. Now I suppose I'm lucky because this is a raised bed and we disturbed the ground under it when we built this bed, so it's relatively easy to get these stakes in. The most difficult bit is my height. And the proximity. You can't get a swing on the sledgehammer from here. There we go. Still lets it move a little bit, but just gives it a little bit of security. Okie dokes. The solar watering system. Perfect timing because I think it's going to rain. So the system I'm using for this is the same one I used over there. It's a solar pump that attaches to a water butt because although it would be great to do things like a soaker hose, we don't have this garden set up to have hoses and things connected to the mains. It's not really a thing that's done in the UK because we don't get those crazy hot dry summers for like long periods. But this is nice and convenient because I've already got a water butt. And it'll go on that fence, solar panel, that's south facing, so it'll get as much sun as I can give it. It's going to be limited because this is Scotland, folks. But then it'll just, using drippers, just 3 times a day, it'll just pump water down. And like I say, I can actually have feed in the water butt as well, because my experience of using it over there is it empties it quite quickly, so I don't have to worry about having feed and water sitting stagnant. But yeah, so that's it. So nothing fancy about this. It's not a fancy kit at all. It's just, I think, to be honest, it was the first one I saw when I went Googling. But it works like this. Let me see if I can empty this out. So, solar panel attached to the motor and the pump. Okay, and then you've got loads of tubing. So you've got tubing goes from the water butt in to the unit, and then tubing goes from the unit out around your bed, intersected along the way with little drippers, and they're in here. You'll have seen these little tiny drippers. So it's exactly the same as I use over there, just bigger. So, rechargeable batteries, and this is what the solar panel charges. Make sure that lines up properly again, because that's the water seal. And now that that's done, I need to decide where it's going to go. Now, it goes without saying, this is solar, so I want it to get as much sun as possible. I don't want to put it behind the tree, so I'm going to put it over there because it will get the sun and it's near the water butt, which will be feeding it. So. And I need to drill a tiny little hole in the side of the water butt that the sensor and the pipe are going to go through. Now, water butts generally come with impressions in the plastic actually moulded in for you to drill holes. Just be careful if you're drilling any plastic things, because they split so easily, so take it slow. Go. As Kate always says, Guy Canny, it's no race. Right, so now I need to set up the sensor and the tubing that's going to go from the pump to the water barrel. So that's the one that's going to draw the water up. Then I'll add the tubing that's going to take it around the bed. It's just one step at a time. It's so going to rain before I'm finished. Now, this is the little filter. Goes on the bottom of the tube. It just stops it sucking up anything it shouldn't, because you don't want it to block the system. So that goes on that end. Just make sure it's nice and tight. Right, and we'll see how long I need. So it tells you in the instructions how far down this should go. You don't want it on the bottom. And then obviously I want enough to go from there. There we go. Ta-da! First bit done. Right, and you can see there's wire hanging from the system, that's the sensor. So it actually has an alarm to tell you when it needs filled up. So that's why you don't put it all the way to the bottom. It sits, now I'll give you, it sits just up from the bottom, and that little alarm will go and it beeps and it will tell me that it needs water added. Because you don't want it running on empty, it would damage the pump. All I'm doing is just cable tying this together. So that's the weight, the filter, and the sensors. Do, do, do. This is the hardest bit, is trying to see which is the in and the out, because eyesight's not what it was. So the next bit then is I have to fit where all the wee drippers are going to be, so I have to make those decisions, because I'll then cut that tubing to where they're going to be. Cool, got all 12. Little holders, so I can put them in place because they're a lot bigger and easier to see. And I can now confirm somewhere in that bed we've got nettles. Ow. So there is little T-pieces that will connect multiple bits of pipe, and there are these little drippers that will go in the end of the pipe. So it'll go like this, I'll show you. Main dripper in the end, and then the other end goes in the T like this, and then the main line will go on either side of that one. So I just need to get these all set up. Now you'll see that I haven't made this super precise measurements. Doesn't have to be. Now is the annoyingly tedious bit. I need to go around cutting, tubing to the right lengths, and then attaching these to the little spikes. And I just have to work my way right round the bed. Oh, done. That is one of those jobs. It's not difficult, it's not complicated, it's just tedious and time consuming. But but done. Okay, let's fix this before I put it away. The good thing is, because I really don't like seeing this stuff in the garden, so the good thing is, because this bed's quite full, it hides it quite nicely. But I will have to switch it on and go round and check, just to make sure all the drippers are working properly. Which is when you wish the bed wasn't quite so full. Right, let's tidy up, because a tidy garden means a happy Eli. All the wee spare bits. There we go. Right. Tighten that screw up because it's finished and put it in its final place, and then I'll switch it on. Now, obviously I can only talk about this one because it's the one that I bought and I know how it works. I'll switch it on and it will run for quite a while, just as it settles and gets its bearings, charges, all of that kind of thing. So what's a good idea to do is, when you run it for the first time, run your first tube back into your water butt, so you're not losing water, because it's going to run for ages. And you can do that just for that first one, and then connect it back up again and let it run for future. The best bit is peeling the film off. Oh, I love that. And that's it on. Gotta love something that'll make life easier in the garden. Hopefully that means that apples will be astonishing again this year, because like I said, this way I can keep on top of watering and feeding, and I don't have to worry about things. But there's one more thing to guarantee getting amazing apples, and if you do it in the next few months, it works for you for next year, and that's summer pruning. And if you've never done that before, that video there will show you all about it, because I taught Kate. See you folks.